Oh, hello there. According to this, I am live. I'm alive. I'm so relieved to know that. Pardon me. It's 34 minutes late today, but I was working right up until about 3 minutes ago, and I had to frantically get out my lights and get out my laptop and get everything set up and try to push some stuff out of the frame so I can at least give the illusion that my home is together when it is anything but together. Um, this camera angle disguises a multitude of sins. So I'm going to wait to see if anybody comes to join me soon. I guess the announcement will go out that I am on the air. Ward, you made it. Hey, welcome, my friend. Thank you for coming back. And Renee, hi. Well, that notice gets out pretty quickly. I was just explaining to people, I was working right up until about 3 minutes ago, dropped everything, set up the lights, set everything up, got the laptop on here and everything so I can be with you for a little bit. Ward, don't apologize for anything. Please don't worry about crashing and missing out last week. You actually have a life of your own. But yeah, thank you too for joining me. Trying to see where Sasha is. I'm sure she will be here any minute now. Wendy, hi Wendy. Oh, I like all your little your hearts and your smileys and your butterflies and your rainbows and your sunshine and your moonlight and your star. That's so nice. I like it. It's so reflective of the artist that you are. The hats that you design. Whimsy just loves what you made for her, and it's just so very, very perfect. Yeah, it's a lot has been going on in my life. And I guess I always I'm the classic pull the cart ahead of the horse kind of guy. I'm always looking at, yes, but I should have done this. I should have done that. Well, and I don't look at all that I actually do and what I have accomplished. And Sybil, hi, thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Um, I don't know what's going on astrologically right now, but it's been a real introspective period for me. Uh, One of the things I've been very busy with, I finally decided to tackle all of these closets I have. Well, all of two closets I have here, but one of them is pretty big. And for years, I have had them just filled to the top of the ceiling with boxes and bags and things I haven't wanted to deal with that I throw into the closet until it just becomes this mess where it's impenetrable and I can't even go in there and use them anymore in a functional way. I finally thought, I'm really tired of this. I want my closet to be what they're for. Line my shoes up, hang my clothes, my suits, my jackets, everything. A few boxes here and there. So I'm going to put a lot of things that are in there into storage. Fortunately have a storage unit with a little extra space. It's not close by. It's all the way down in Santa Ana. And of course, I live here in Los Angeles. So on a good day, if traffic cooperates, it's about an hour and 10-minute drive down there. But the reason I have it down there is because it's much cheaper. To get a storage unit in Los Angeles would easily be 2 or 3 times the cost. And I had, when I first moved to this apartment, I had to downsize from a considerably larger apartment I had in West Hollywood. Um, Ugly story there. West Hollywood famously has rent control and supposedly are protected. But the truth of the matter is, if you live in a place too, quote unquote, too long and your rent is too low, there are a lot of evil, unscrupulous landlords who will do everything they can to get you out of your home. And that's what happened with my last apartment in West Hollywood that I'd had for many years that I loved. New owners took over the building, and one by one, they started seriously harassing people and forcing people to leave. And they finally worked their way down to me. Um, there was a notice on my door, innocent enough, saying that they needed to come in a couple of days to do an inspection and take some photographs. I thought, fine, there's no problem there, nothing wrong with my home or anything. Well, 24 hours after they were there, there was an 8-page notice on my door with all of these supposed violations I had committed. And if I didn't fix the situation in 3 days, I was going to be forced to leave my home. And I knew something was seriously wrong here. I had not violated anything. Um, I got a lawyer. First time in my life, I hired a lawyer and I decided that I was going to fight this. I dealt with a lot of bullies when I was a kid. So I have very, very little patience for bullying and harassment. And that brings out my fighting spirit. I hired a very good lawyer. She looked at the notice and looked up the so-called violations, and she said, Chuck, these don't even exist. They just made up some numbers and made up some violations. And she said, oh, you've got a case for a major lawsuit here. And I didn't really want to sue. I just wanted to be left alone. Let me have my home. But at her insistence, we did countersue, and we were able to settle out of court. And I got what seemed to be a nice settlement. And I was also given the part of the condition of this generous settlement was that I had to move in 6 months, but they would give me 6 months free rent in order to make my transition. There's a whole other story to that. I wasn't warned that that nice big generous settlement was going to put me in a higher income bracket come tax time the next year. So I ended up losing almost my entire settlement to the IRS because I wasn't protected. And frankly, my wonderful lawyer should have warned me about that. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But I had to, because I had been living in this wonderful apartment with such cheap rent, I was faced with the reality of just how difficult it is to get an apartment in Los Angeles. And I was also faced with the fact that not only was I going to have to get a smaller apartment, I was going to have to pay several $100s more a month for the smaller apartment. And I just had some pieces of furniture, like a beautiful mid 19th century sleigh bed, a dresser, some other furnishings I did not want to part with. And, things that were irreplaceable, things that had been in my family, just other boxes of things, books. I thought, okay, the compromise here is get this smaller apartment and then get a storage unit because it was still going to be cheaper than getting a larger apartment to just put all that stuff in. And maybe one day I'll be able to have it again. But anyway, that's why I have a storage unit, why I'm keeping things, because I get people going, well, what are you paying money to store all that stuff for that you don't use? Well, that's my reason. It's things I don't want to part with. And even right now, in going through my closet, you can't see it right now because of this camera angle. But if I were to turn this around and show you the utter chaos in my living room, you'd be, oh, because I've got boxes everywhere and I'm sorting through stuff and I'm sincerely trying to throw some things out, looking for things to donate, and then things that I can drive down to Santa Ana to the storage unit, and then start putting my apartment back together. And one of the reasons why I also want to have the closets is I have a lot of large canvas paintings that I've done. And canvas paintings are really a bitch to store. I have them in cardboard cartons and things, but they take up a lot of room. And right now they're taking up a lot of room in my kitchen area because that's the only place I have to put them. And I tired of that too. I want to have my kitchen back. I want to have a functional closet. I want to have clear space in my home again. And it's just one of those things that builds and builds and builds. I was having a conversation with my good friend Pam of Pomona Remembers this morning, and we talked about this, how people like us, you know, artistic, creative people like us tend to be more sentimental about holding on to things, and we have to police ourselves and just periodically do a literal and figurative cleaning of the house. And let's see, I haven't even looked at my comments here. Let me go back here. Let me go way back here. Yes, it's Monday the 13th, Columbus Day. Yeah. What was this, Wendy? Please tell her, Whimsy, to fix the ostrich feathers on it. It looks like Mila got a hold of it and she stuck it in the front. Okay, I will tell Whimsy. I will forward that message on to her. No, Ward, I didn't wear a dust mask while tackling the closet. Actually, it's not dusty in there at all. The closet is well sealed off and actually smells nice and fresh and clean in there, which surprised me. But yeah, you're right. A dust mask probably would be a good idea. Let's see, Danny was saying, I was thinking to myself the other day, I've watched Saint Elsewhere on Disney Plus and other sites recently about the unfortunate suicide of Ed Flanders due to chronic back pain so severe. I forgot that he committed suicide. And I did not know what the reason was. I was thinking perhaps maybe he was bipolar, manic depressive. But poor man, he was such a good actor. I remember him when I was in high school. He did a one-man show on PBS where he played Harry Truman. And of course, I realized that James Whitmore also did a one-man show as Harry Truman, Give 'Em Hell, Harry. And what was interesting about James Whitmore's version, it was filmed. It was a stage play, filmed and shown in theaters. And to my awareness, that's the only time a film stage performance has gotten an Oscar nomination. He got nominated for Best Actor for that. But Ed Flanders, I think, I'd have to check into it. I think he might have actually won an Emmy for playing Harry Truman. He was just fabulous. It was just like having Harry Truman there in your living room talking to you. What was this, Dan? According to People magazine article I read, called From Elsewhere to Nowhere. Oh, his obituary headline. That's such a shame. He was a marvelous, marvelous actor. Let's see. I see here, bummer. Maybe you're talking about what happened to me with my apartment. But Danny says, but on a lighter note, reruns of Saint Elsewhere shortly afterwards began airing on Nickelodeon as part of its Nick at Night lineup. On April 26, 1996, initially as part of an all-night sneak peek of what cut off after of. But yeah, I used to love Nick at Night in the 1990s, around that period, 96, 97, 98, 99. Oh my God, I didn't even watch regular primetime TV. I was watching things like, I remember Nick at Night, they had an incredible lineup. They had I Love Lucy and I Dream of Jeannie and Green Acres and, I'm forgetting. I remember it was just a stellar line. It was like a dream primetime schedule of, I don't know if any of you have ever thought of that. If you could go back in time and pick the greatest television shows of all time, what would be your fantasy primetime schedule? I've often thought about that. Like, like Saturday night, I would bring back CBS of the season 1973-74. Get this, I think it's the greatest night of television programming in history. You had All in the Family, MASH, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Bob Newhart Show, and then to cap it off, the Carol Burnett Show. Oh my God, what a night that was. And I've often thought it'd be fun to bring back I Love Lucy and the Lucy Show on Monday nights, I always loved the Waltons, bring the Waltons back on Thursdays. I don't know, we can go on and on with that. But anyway, Nick at Night during the 90s kind of fulfilled part of that fantasy. These several years, like one box at a time. That's what it's like. I don't want to put a negative spin on this. I know we're supposed to be all positive and everything, but for me, what helps is just to be brutally honest. It's going to be a miserable experience. I'm going to be sweaty and in a bad mood, and I'm going to be agitated, and I'm going to have clutter everywhere, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'd rather just face it. That's the truth of it. Just face it. That's what this is going to be. It's going to be for the next few days, but I am also looking at the payoff, the reward for all the things that I mentioned earlier that I'm hoping to achieve by getting a lot of this clutter out of here. But it's difficult in a smaller home. I don't have a lot of places where I can just set the stuff aside so I can organize. I have to just kind of set in all the chaos and organize. And hey, Joyce, thank you for joining. And Andy, you're here. And what was this? Danny referring to Pierce Brosnan making his debut as James Bond in GoldenEye. He was a good choice for GoldenEye. For James Bond. That's what I meant. He was a very good choice for James Bond. I read James Brolin was considered for a while for James Bond back in the 80s, and something fell through there. And also, I was reading, this was very recently, even 2 days ago, the actor Matt Balmer, who is, of course, openly gay, he was under serious consideration for James Bond. I think it was James Bond. I was reading. Yeah, he was under serious consideration for that. Oh, no. Excuse me. It was not James Bond. It was Superman. He was they flew him back and forth between New York and LA for like 4 months, doing all of these screen tests and testing with other actors for chemistry and so forth. And then when it was found out about his sexuality, the deal was over. He lost the whole thing. And, one thing I can tell you, Matt Balmer is a really, really sweet guy. I used to help him when I was in the health industry. But what impressed me more was he used to go to my gym. And this was the rare case of the celebrity who actually walked up to me to say hello. That's just the kind of guy Matt Balmer is. I can't speak more highly of him. Andy, Bond, to me, Bond will always be Sean Connery. I have to agree with you there. In fact, Sean Connery, I helped him once and helped put some vitamins together for him. Very nice man, very polite. And it was a little bit funny because there were some women, shall we say women of a certain age, and in their 50s or so, and they were all just like swooning over him and everything. And Sean was so sweet and so gracious, and he was such a gentleman to those ladies. But yeah, let's see, what are some other comments here. Oh, Andy, Chuck, how are you, my friend? And how's Sasha? Well, I'm just explaining, Andy, to everyone all I'm going through right now. I'm in the middle of a lot of cleaning and organizing, and more organizing than cleaning. I'm actually feel like I'm making a big mess right now, but the goal is to have this place together. And I've just been working hard with a lot of my other projects and the 2 shows I do with Whimsy. And Sasha is great. She was up and about and prancing, and now I don't know where she is. So she may be asleep right now, but she'll come out when she feels like it. Sometimes Sasha wants to be on camera, and then she goes, I changed my mind. Put me down. I don't want to be on camera anymore. Wait. I want to be back on camera. That's Sasha, so let's see. Let's see what are some other comments here. Oh, speaking of Superman, I'd love to have seen Nick Cage as Superman from seeing a cameo of him in the Flash movie. Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was under consideration for Superman. That would have been an interesting casting choice. I encountered him once. It was in a video store. Remember video stores where you actually used to rent movies on VHS? I think this was the DVD era, but Nicolas Cage was in there. It was in a West Hollywood video store, and I remember he had a beautiful supermodel girlfriend on his arm, and I remember her going, "Oh, Nicholas, have we seen this movie?" It was nice. Robert Redford and oh shoot, this moved on me. Um, Robert Redford and Caitlyn Jenner were both considered for Superman prior to Mr. Reeve. Well, it would have been pre-Caitlyn. It would have been Caitlyn when Caitlyn was Bruce, and yes, look who's here. Sasha, do you want to be on camera? I guess she wants. Okay, she's pushing me away. Okay, let's see what she wants to do. I'm just going to put her down. Let her decide for herself. Yes, Danny Bruce was still a man. I'm not trying to make light of that or anything, but yeah. Let's see. I'm surprised the real Nick at Night never did Remington Steele. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why they didn't either. Um, oh, Andy, you did a lot of house cleaning yourself today. I don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it. I wish I enjoyed it. I actually envy people who enjoy it. I envy people who are just super organized and they always have a sponge and a pump bottle in their hand or a vacuum cleaner or something. I wish I was more like that. I'm your typical artist. I just get in the flow of everything. I'm working on my projects and I just have stuff flying all over the place. And sometimes I don't even know how it happens. I will just be immersed in my work and then I'll be like, wow, did a cyclone pass through here? You know, like the Tasmanian devil when I'm working. Yes, Ward, Sasha has a bit of Garbo in her. Come here, Sasha. Yes, did you hear that? You have a little bit of Garbo in you. I want to be alone. She's a sweet little girl. I love her. I love my Sasha. I'm going to put her down and see what she does. Speaking of Garbo, I think I've told my Garbo story. My kind of sort of meeting Garbo. Well, I did. Kind of sort of. It was back in the 80s. There was a health food store called Quinn's on Melrose here in Los Angeles near La Cienega. And Garbo used to make a lot of visits to Los Angeles to visit her friends here, her many, many Hollywood friends, right up until shortly before her death. I understand she was flying out here, but she was close friends with Mrs. Quinn, the owner of the store. I think Mrs. Quinn was Swedish. I think, but I can't verify that. But I know she and Garbo were friends. And Garbo used to love to come out here to visit and put on an apron and go in the back kitchen, the deli section, everything, go in the kitchen. And she and Mrs. Quinn would bake. Yes, I can see the tail of Sasha behind me, would bake bread together. And did I say break bread? Bake bread together, not break bed. Ugh. They would bake bread. And Garbo, just for the fun of it, sometimes would go out and work the deli counter. Now, this was not a publicly known thing. Believe me, Garbo at this point just looked, she was an elderly woman. At this point, she had long gray hair and she was rather eccentric. She was known to wear a baseball cap with blue jeans and a mink coat. That's what I was told. But anyway, she would sometimes work behind the counter, work the cash register, serve people to her. I guess it was just fun. It was like play acting. And I am 99.8% certain she waited on me because I remember an eccentric, Sasha, what are you getting into? Somewhat eccentric, older woman with a thick Swedish accent behind the counter, long shoulder length, whitish hair, talking like this. And she served me potato salad. I'm almost certain it was Greta Garbo. So that's a fault, Sasha. That's a fun little story to tell. Greta Garbo served me potato salad. Um, let's see. Oh my gosh, I hate this. Every time I try to scroll through this, it moves on me, and then I have to find my place again. Um, uh, oh, Danny, you had the premiere show of Remington Steele on VHS, likewise with Saint Elsewhere. I'm pretty sure those have been released on DVD. You can get the whole box set, the whole series, if you're interested. And I'm sure they're streaming somewhere. But yeah, it's I have. Those are some other things I think I have finally. I think a few years ago, I finally dumped all of my VHS tapes. And part of that really hurt because I knew I had some obscure stuff on there, rare stuff on there. But I didn't have the time to go through those tapes. And then I thought, I don't have the time to go through the tapes. I'm certainly not going to have time to watch them either. And I just let them go. And also, it helps that a lot of those obscure clips and shows you can just find on YouTube now. You know, but I could have probably have uploaded a lot of good stuff myself. The MTM spinoff Lou Grant, starring Ed Asner, which, unlike its parent show, being a sitcom, was an hour drama. Oh yeah, no, Lou Grant was a very successful drama. It won the Outstanding Drama Series Emmy at least 2 or 3 times. And I know Ed Asner won. He had won Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series Emmys for that character. And then he won Lead Actor Drama Emmys for Lou Grant. It was a fabulously well done show, beautifully written, acted. Oh my God, the Nancy Marchand, who played Mrs. Pynchon, the publisher, the owner of the newspaper Lou Grant worked for. She was based on Katharine Graham. But Nancy Marchand won so many Emmys for that character. And I remember they did one where her character had a stroke. It was just marvelous, marvelous acting. And I've always admired Edward Asner. I remember when he died, somebody published a photograph on Facebook, and it was a picture of him with all of his Emmys. And the story was this person was at Ed's house and said, Ed, where are all your Emmys? Because Ed had the record for men for winning the most Emmys. And, there are women who have won more than him, like Cloris Leachman, Betty White, I think even Mary Tyler Moore. They won more Emmys. But for a man, he had the most Emmys, 7. And turned out Ed had them scattered all over the house. And the person wanted to take a picture of him with the awards. And he said, well, if you can find them, sure, I'll pose for a picture. So he had to go on a scavenger hunt. Found one in the bedroom, found one in the bathroom. There was 2 in the hallway. It was like that. They were just everywhere. But it's a nice picture of Ed Asner posing with all of his well-deserved Emmys. And I loved him in the Disney Pixar movie Up. I was about to blank on the title there. He was quite moving in that. And so Joyce is asking Andy, when does your mom get to come home? Oh, Andy, I'm sorry she's not sure and she doesn't know, Joyce. Well, I hope she does come home soon. Yes, someone was singing Sasha's Tale in the background. Let's see here. Yeah, Lou Grant would have been a good choice for Nick at Night, but I'm pretty sure Lou Grant streams somewhere. It might be Hulu. I should check that out. I just don't have time for television as of late. There's all this wonderful entertainment available, and I admit that I stream more services than I should be. I should cut back on those. I really went bad during the pandemic lockdown. when we were all in our homes. And as Ellen DeGeneres joked when she did her first show from home to her audience, remember when all the talk show hosts were doing their shows on their laptops? She said, I'm playing to an audience that's still in their pajamas and has been drinking wine since 9 this morning. And I was like, because I think a lot of us were guilty of things like that during the pandemic lockdown. As I say to people now we can kind of joke about it, but at the time it was like it was the end of the world. It was like, well, we're all going to die, so we might as well just do what we want, to eat anything we want, drink anything we want, and lie around the house in our pajamas. And well, and thankfully I didn't get into too many bad habits, but I know people who did. But something I did, I'm watching, see what Sasha's getting into over here because I found all these boxes. I subscribed to too many streaming services because my justification was, well, I can't go out anywhere. I can't go to the movie theater. I can't go to restaurants. Can't go to plays. So I might as well just have a lot of entertainment here. So at one point, I think I had Disney Plus, I had Paramount Plus, I had Peacock, I had Hulu, I had Amazon Prime, I had Netflix, I had, what else did I have? I don't know, but I've gotten rid of a lot of those streaming channels. I have set them free because they were seriously eating into my bank account every month, and I wasn't even watching them. And Sasha, she wants to be back on camera again, my little Siamese. Now watch her. See, now she's going, put me down, put me down. I don't want to be on camera. I changed my mind. Okay. I'm shy. I'm shy. Yo, you agree? Do you agree, Sasha? She's saying, put me down. Okay, I'm going to put you down till she makes up her mind what she wants to do. Let's see. I'm trying to find my comments here. It just moved on me again. Let's see. What is this here? Oh, Joyce, well, I'm not a fan of oral surgery. I'm taking antibiotics for a couple more days. Oh, Joyce, I'm so sorry you've had to go through all that. I've gone through it too. Most of us have. I'm sorry. I always have to check my phone because, I work as Dr. Whimsy Anderson's real life assistant, and I'm always got clients and patients texting me, wanting me to get back to them. Sorry to be doing this on the air. Okay. No, Joyce, I hope you're feeling better because I think I told the story once I had to do like a whole month of dental procedures, and I said, well, can't we just do it all now? The dentist kind of laughed at me and said, no, you don't want to do all that to your mouth at one time. And after the first visit, I quickly saw why we had to spread this out over the next 4 weeks. That's right. I think I told this last week, didn't I, Joyce? I don't need to go into it again, but I hope you're feeling better. Oh, hope you'll be better and good as new. Let's see, Ward. I couldn't work from home since the hospital needed me to help out. Oh, yeah, Sydney Wells. I'm sending healing prayers for you, Joyce. I will too. Joyce is a wonderful lady, gifted astrologer, numerologist, tarot reader. Joyce, when you're feeling better, I really want to hook up with you and catch up on some stuff. I even sent you a little text, some personal stuff going on. I just wanted to look at my chart and see what's going on. We'll check it out. What was this, Danny? About as was Paul McCartney's kid, brother Mike, known professionally as Mike McGear, who attempted to be a rock musician like his brother, but is a commercial photographer instead now. Yeah, it's sometimes talent does run through a family, but it's just It's like that one sibling who has that little, what James Mason said of Judy Garland in A Star is Born, that little something extra that makes a star, and Paul McCartney certainly had that. Joyce, you feel best in the morning. Yeah, we've had some rest. And, I guess as the day goes on, I know when I'd had my dental work, that's when my gums would start hurting in my teeth. And, when you'd start chewing food, and also when the painkillers would start wearing off. Yeah, I remember now. I told about this last week because I said how if I was going to go through all those procedures, I wanted to have at least one fun thing to look forward to, and that was going to be a laser teeth bleaching. And I told about how it was actually the worst. It was the most painful and horrible of all of the procedures. And when I say pain, maybe that's an exaggeration, but when you have your mouth propped open for like 2 hours or however long it was, it felt like 2 hours, and they've got safety goggles on you, and you've got this ultraviolet light glaring in your face, and they're painting chemicals on your teeth, and your gums just get increasingly sensitive every time they paint those on. And I remember my jaw just being so sore, and I was like, this was supposed to be my fun procedure. Okay. What was it? Cat Guy, enjoy your stories. Please keep. Oh, shoot. It moved on me right while I was reading your lovely compliment there. Now I've got to go back again. I don't know why it does this. Oh yeah, Cat, enjoy your stories. Please keep doing you. Always be true to yourself. Well, thank you, Cat. I do appreciate that very, very much. It was, I've told this before, but my wonderful acting teacher, Dee Wallace, played the mother in E.T., the extraterrestrial. Great, great lady, great actress, great teacher. She always said to us, you can never lie to the camera. You can never be insincere to the camera. She said, the camera's like a microscope. It picks up everything. It picks up what's in your eyes and your aura, your energy field, facial expressions, your voice. And I find that's always served me. And honestly, I don't know any other way to do a show like this and to just be myself. You can't help it, when you come on here, especially days like this where I have zero preparation other than me just setting up the laptop and putting the light overhead and hitting some buttons and going, okay, here I am live and I'm talking to you. And all of you people are just so wonderful. You give me comments, you give me topics, you guide the show. You're the lifeblood of it. And I've learned to trust that. Was Andy, you hear purrs? Well, she could be here purring somewhere. A little drama queen. She sure is. Wendy, Sasha's mad that I'm talking to you and not her. There's probably some truth to that. Probably a lot of truth to that. Sometimes I have to grab her to keep her from jumping up onto the keyboard and cutting the show off. And that this show's a lot more informal. But when I do my show with Dr. Whimsy Anderson, well, I should say her show. I don't want to call it my show or our show. We do that Tuesdays season Wednesdays. I have a great responsibility to Whimsy and to be together and reasonably professional and prepared. And here comes Sasha trying to leap on the computer and cut my half of the screen off during the middle of the show. So that's often the reason I have to pick her up and hold her, like even now. When I got her, she was 10 weeks old. Got her from a woman in San Diego who breeds Siamese cats. And she said to me, when I was choosing my kitten, she said, oh, that one, be prepared for someone who is going to have a very, very strong say in your home and how things are done. She is going to control your life. She knew that kitten's personality, and that's exactly what Sasha turned out to be. She's fun. She's an Aries. Joyce, you know Aries female energy. Well, I live with Aries female energy 24/7. Oh, and Joyce, you as an astrologer know exactly what I'm talking about there. Um, let's see. Oh, you had 3 impacted wisdom teeth in your 20s. Oh, I just had 1, but that 1 was enough. Oh dear. Let's see if I can move these comments without them going blip off the screen. Danny, you're lucky. You've only had a few dental procedures in your life. Yes, you're very lucky. Yes, I see Sasha. Yes. Yes. What? Make up your mind, Sasha. What do you want? What do you want? Okay, this is what she wants. She wants attention. Okay, let me get back here. Danny, besides all 4 wisdom teeth removed at age 18, I had my tonsils removed at a young age, plus a regular tooth removed 15 years ago in the back. Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Or by the way, one of my great grandmothers got all her teeth out all at once and got fatal pneumonia as a result. Oh, Ward, I'm sorry. You know, that's you do anything like that, that's a tremendous shock to the body, to the whole system. And when a person is elderly like that, to do all that, and it undoubtedly weakened her immune system. I had a friend who had to have that done, and he was a lot younger. He was only like in his, I think, early 40s at the time, late 30s, early 40s. But he had chronic gum infections, and it was so bad that his dentist advised him to have all of his teeth pulled out, so he'd have a smooth gum palate. That would take care of a lot of the abscesses, and then, of course, get fitted for upper and lower dentures. And my heart just went out to him. I just could not even fathom what that would be like. Get up in the morning and know that you're going to go get all your teeth pulled out. You're going to a doctor, a dentist. You're going to sit in that chair and one by one have every single one of your teeth pulled out. And I actually cried for him. I felt so bad, but he took it in stride, and that was many years ago, and he's been fine. He's learned to live with his dentures. I'm so sorry to hear about your grandmother or your great grandmother. Was this the whole famous brother conversation? I must have missed that. I'm sorry. What was this word yesterday? She literally died in my preteen papa's arms. Last words were that she loved him. He never got over it. Oh, I don't think I'd get over that either. That would be so traumatic. Oh dear. Terrible. Dentistry was in its infancy back then. Yeah, it has become a lot more high tech. We'll say that. Remember once I was back east on vacation visiting my family, and I was with my sister, and we were in Charlottesville, Virginia, where she went to college, UVA, and we were outside in this really nice restaurant, and we were having something called grasshopper pie. I bit a whole filling, big filling, just dropped right out of my mouth and clunk fell on my plate. I couldn't believe it. And here I was, away from home, away from my dentist and everything. And so I had to make an emergency appointment the next morning. Just took a chance on a dentist. And for the first and only time in my life, he gave me what is popularly known as laughing gas. I know it's nitrous oxide. And I know nitrous oxide gets abused quite a bit, for purposes other than dentistry. But in this case, it was legitimate. And he put the mask on my face. And I remember just like wow, I feel good. It's like drill my teeth, you know. Oh, that was terrible. But how much I enjoyed that. It was actually probably my most pleasant dental experience. Um, but yeah, I think of a lot of stories going back, like my mother's mother. Um, my mother had me very late in life, and in turn, her mother had her very late in life. And I think this was in the 1930s. My grandmother, I never knew this grandmother. She died before I was even born, but I heard some stories about her. Not the best, but anyway, she had to have cataract surgery. And of course, anybody who's had cataract surgery, I haven't had it, thank goodness, but anyone who has will tell you it's a surprisingly simple procedure now. My mother had it done. My mother was terrified because of what she had seen her mother go through. So she was just stunned at how easy it was and how quick the recovery was and everything, and how she could even see much better. But my grandmother, in those days, you talk about how archaic procedures were. That's where they had to actually like surgically, like, it was a much bigger deal cutting into your eyes. And my grandmother had to lay with her head between sandbags, and she was not allowed to get out of bed for like 2 months. Couldn't, as my mother said, she couldn't even wash her hair or anything. She said it was just horrible. And my grandmother was in so much pain and agony, and it was just torture. She apparently was very claustrophobic to be wedged between sandbags, but she couldn't move her head. She wasn't allowed to set up, move her head or anything, because she could have gone blind until she healed, and thank goodness things have come along further. Gee, I didn't mean to get into dark subjects like this, but we go wherever we go. Oh, Joyce, you had nitrous this time. Don't you agree, Joyce? Isn't it, dare I say it, fun? It feels good. Let's see. So you're still talking about some of the shows here being rerun. And those shows will be included as part of the Nick at Night historical website. I didn't know there was a Nick at Night historical website. I'll check into that. Oh yeah, the Little Rascals Laughing Gas episode. In fact, there was a Betty Boop cartoon I saw not that long ago, where she and this other character were playing with laughing gas, and they accidentally turned the knob up too high, and then all the gas went out into the streets, and then people on the sidewalks were laughing uncontrollably, and it was pretty silly. Sydney, my grandmother went through that as well and had glaucoma. Yeah, my mother had that also. My mother thankfully managed it with the eye drops, but I remember how frightened my mother was. I think it was just seeing how her grandmother had suffered, and so she worried about anything like that. And you said you met Connery. Did you ever meet his brother? No, I never met his brother, not to my awareness. I just met Sean Connery. And of course, as I was saying, he was a nice, gracious man, a real gentleman. Let's see. Oh, Joyce, it makes it more bearable, that's for sure. Yes. It's too bad they can't send you home with some, you know. Oh, Danny, you launched a Nick at Night historical website very quietly this summer. Well, you'll have to give us all the information so we can check that out, Danny. I'd like to check it out myself. Um, Oh yeah, speaking of laughing gas, remember that scene from Little Shop of Horrors? That laughing gas scene, Steve Martin. Well, actually, it was a remake. I think, wasn't it Jack Nicholson in one of his very, very first acting roles? I think the original version of Little Shop of Horrors was like a little tiny B movie made in 1960, and then of course there was the Broadway musical, which was made into a movie in the 80s. I thought it was a wonderful movie. Rick Moranis was in it and Ellen Greene, but Steve Martin played the infamous dentist who was sadistic and liked to inflict pain upon people. Ooh, uh, but Danny, yeah, well, any of us who have ever put together a website know what hard work it is. Tedious hard work. I have a website for my artwork, and I always tell people, look, it is just a work in progress. Even 5 years later, it's still a work in progress. And I never felt it was ready to put up, but my friends who had their own art websites just said their advice to me consistently was just put it up anyway. Put up what you got and just keep tweaking it and refining it. And that's what I've been doing. But it's sometimes it's smooth and sometimes it's really hard. I was doing something on there once. I just wanted to change a couple of sentences in a paragraph. And when I did that, it obliterated like 3 or 4 paragraphs, threw my whole website off, all the composition and everything, and all my pictures went out of alignment. And I was like, no. And I spent over 5 hours trying to fix it just to get it back to where it was when I started, before I changed the sentences. And so that makes me reluctant to work on that website anymore. And I know I need to. So uh, I certainly applaud you for what you're doing. And I know the hard work that goes into maintaining a website and building it. But I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. And I'm sure you are putting a lot of love into it. I always recognize that. Ward, I think Jackie Joseph all starred in the original Little Shop of Horrors before she voiced Betty Rubble after B. Benadry's passing. I met Jackie Joseph once at a party, private party, held at Billy Barnes' house. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Billy Barnes reviews, and he wrote a lot of songs. He used to do the music for Rowan Martin's Laugh-In. Billy Barnes wrote the song "I Stayed Too Long at the Fair" that Barbra Streisand famously sang on her very first album. It's really beautiful. Anyway, through a friend of his, I was invited to the party at his house in the Hollywood Hills. And Ken Berry and Jackie Joseph used to be married. At that point, they had been divorced a number of years, but they had remained very friendly with each other. And they were both there at the party. And what was fun for me, excuse me there, I was scratching my nose, not picking it. But being Billy Barnes' house, there was a big piano and you had all these performers who were there as guests. So we all sat around on the floor around the piano and had a sing along. And I sat next to Ken Berry. And there was that little part of me, the little boy in me, that was like, I used to watch you on Mayberry RFD when I was about 9 years old. And now I'm sitting next to you at a party. It was really cool. But I remember Jackie Joseph was really sweet, and I liked her a lot too. Ward, I hit the like button. I'm number one. LOL. I wrote some routines to the music, so I know all the songs Ghostbusters too. Oh wait, I need to go back here. I'm missing some comments here. Let's see, the Nikonai Historical Site, speaking of Laughing Gas, Little Rascals, and Joyce, you said I wrote some routines to the music, so I knew all the songs Ghostbusters too. That must have been for your swimmers, your dancer, your what's the correct word, Joyce? You'll have to correct me here. Your swimmers, your dancing swimmers. God, why am I blanking out on this? Because this is such a part of your life, Joyce, and what you devoted yourself to. And I'm getting the wrong terminology here. You'll have to please forgive me. Please correct me from but is that what you wrote the routines for? Joyce, did you see the movie Casper? Dan Aykroyd cameo. Who you gonna call? Somebody else. Oh, Joyce, thank you for checking there. And yeah, remember Casper, the friendly ghost? Uh, yeah, Danny. Very few ex-spouses remain friendly. You know, I was impressed with them. I could tell they had a good friendship with each other. Yeah, Ken Berry was a really nice, down to earth man. Uh, yes, I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Time check. It's almost 8:30 here, 9:30 where you are, and it's 6:29 where I am here in California. Joyce, artistic swimming. Thank you. Please forgive me. That's what you call a brain fart when you're on live and you can't remember the correct terminology. And Joyce, the last thing in the world I want to do is insult you because I have such admiration for you and respect. So thank you. Artistic swimming. That's a great terminology for it. Of course, synchronized swimming. And you swam to the Ghostbusters music. Who you gonna call? Let's see. Yeah, it used to be called synchronized swimming. Let's see. Chuck, did you see the Neil Connery movie called Operation Kid Brother? No, I didn't see that. It was neat, and it seemed like scenes from James Bond movies, and it was neat. It had lots of Maxwell in it, and the guy who, and then it cuts off. It doesn't say anything after who, but no, I did not see the movie. In fact, I didn't even know he had a brother named Neil. Sorry, I didn't know anything about that. Um, Sydney is asking, is the sun still shining there in California? Well, I'm looking out the window here. It's getting dark now, and we are supposed to have a big rainstorm coming in. I don't know if it comes in tonight or tomorrow. Now, I know to all of you in the rest of the country, you're going like, what's the big deal about that? Southern California, it's a big deal. Whenever we have a rainstorm, it actually is often the headline story on the local news, because we can go 8, 9 months without rain. And then when it does come, there's often chaos. People don't know how to drive in it. They don't know how to brake properly in it. Often there's a lot of oil buildup on the road, so the roads are really slick. I grew up on the East Coast, where it rains normally, and I knew how to drive in it and everything. But I have to confess, even me, after living in California so many years, I've lost a lot of my driving skills in the rain, especially because I drive a little Miata sports car, which is very lightweight anyway. And I've had a few spins on the road and things because I've braked too soon when everything is all wet and slick. But uh, for the most part, I'm careful. And yes, Sydney, we very much need the rain here. We always need the rain. I look forward to it. I love the sound of the rain outside my window at night, and I'm going to sleep. I love how fresh and clean everything is after the rain. Um, Something I don't love, uh, where I live, my neighborhood, Las Feliz, we have a lot of trees, big, tall trees, old trees. And sometimes when the ground gets really soft, it's unheard of for one of those trees to just break off at the roots and just fall right down on either a house or in the middle of the road. And it's just a miracle it hasn't fallen down on cars going by. But we have had that happen, trees coming up uprooted. So that's something I'm a little wary of, but otherwise I look forward to the rain. Let's see. Oh, aquatic art too. It's LOL. It's also known as aquatic art. Anyway, Joyce, I'm glad you told me the right terminology. I didn't want to just call it synchronized swimming. What was this, Danny, about Robert Redford? I always thought that Father Williams was a synchronized swimmer. Uh, see, some of these kind of contexts, you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the context because I missed earlier. Oh, Pam, hi. I got you and Joyce both here today. I'm happy you joined. You're eating Thanksgiving dessert because in Canada, it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. You know, we're having Columbus Day. They're having Thanksgiving up there. Had a lovely conversation with my dear friend Pam this morning, and she always has wisdom for me. And we, she's a fellow intuitive, and so we go back and forth, being checks and balances for each other. Oh, everybody's saying hello to each other. It's always like a party here. Oh, Danny, you're talking about Robert Redford too. You know, I even wondered about that. Surprised nobody's brought up the wonderful Diane Keaton yet. But you know, that thing about people dying in threes, and usually there's a common theme. Well, Robert Redford and Diane Keaton were both major movie stars of the 70s and 80s. And I don't want to put it out there, but I'm wondering who's next. Oh, well, when our time comes, it comes. I think what also the deaths of Robert Redford and Diane Keaton had in common is it was so unexpected. Never mind the fact that Robert Redford was 89, Diane Keaton 79, which still is too young to go. But they just seemed so current, such a part of our current lives, and seemed almost unfathomable that they passed away. I mean, Diane Keaton, I was saddened by that. You know, I was a fan of hers. Where she really grabbed my heart was a film she did in 2003 with Jack Nicholson, Something's Gotta Give. I thought she was so incredibly heartfelt and endearing and funny in the movie. And she has this sequence. It's a montage of scenes. Her character has fallen madly in love with Jack Nicholson's character, and Jack Nicholson's character has dumped her. And she goes on this crying jack. And the montage implies that this goes on for weeks and weeks, where she's just fine, and then she just starts bursting into tears and and crying and sobbing, and in the shower and at her desk, and tears falling down on the keypad as she's typing. And her character's a playwright, and she kind of gets some revenge by turning all of this into a play, but she's there with tears running down her face. And as I sat in the movie theater, I just marveled at how Diane Keaton had this rare gift where she could make you laugh and she could make you cry at the exact same time. And there are very few people who can do that. The only other actor I can really think of who ever pulled that off was Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball could make you laugh and cry at the same time. And, you know, aside from the times she could do that on her television shows, there were times, she did a movie called Yours, Mine, and Ours with Henry Fonda. And there's this, I thought she should have got an Oscar nomination for it. It's, you know, it's the movie about where her character has 8 children. His character has 10 children. They meet and fall in love. And they initially think, well, this is impossible. This isn't going to work. But then they realize they love each other so much. They've got to find a way to make it work. And Lucy, her character, goes to Henry Fonda's character's home to meet all the kids. And she wants so dearly to make a good impression on the children. And the children, well, they want nothing to do with her. They don't want a new mother. And so the 3 oldest boys, they're teenagers, they serve as bartenders. You know, their father asks them to make drinks for them. And Lucy's drink, they spike it. They put like whiskey in there and bourbon and vodka and gin, God only knows what. It was as Henry Fonda said, it was an alcoholic Pearl Harbor. They serve her this very, very alcoholic drink, and Lucy's being gracious and sipping it and making faces. But anyway, she gets roaring drunk, and it's so poignant the way Lucy played it, because her character doesn't know why she's behaving. She doesn't know she's drunk. She just knows that she's off, and she's making a fool of herself, and she's knocking over things on the table, and she spills a pitcher of milk all over one of the little girls, and she starts laughing hysterically. She can't stop laughing. And then she starts crying and crying. And then she starts laughing, and she starts crying and laughing and crying. And I watched that movie. I've watched it many times, but I watched it with a couple of friends of mine who were trained actors. I said, my God, she is brilliant. How is she going back and forth like that? Because she was really crying, and she was really laughing, and she was dealing with all of the humiliation, and she was confused. And anyway, as we were watching it, we were making observation that every time Lucy would start to cry, we would start laughing. And then when she started laughing, we would start crying. But that's what I mean. She had that gift where she could make you laugh and cry at the same time. And I remember sitting with a friend in the movie theater watching Diane Keaton and that sequence in Something's Got to Give. And it was the same thing where we were laughing and had tears running down our faces at the same time. And that's where Diane Keaton really grabbed my heart. And I wanted to pay attention to a lot more of her movies. And when she died on Saturday, I don't think I had ever realized what a big fan I was. I started thinking of all the movies going back, The Godfather, Annie Hall, Manhattan, First Wives Club, Something's Got to Give, A Baby Boom. I such so many movies that I've loved her in. And not just loved the movies, but loved her. And Diane Keaton had such a warm, genuine presence about her. And I never got to meet her, but I've talked to people who did and said she was quite authentic, and she was such a kind lady. And I had a friend who used to work at 20th Century Fox. I've told those stories before. Like, he's the friend who had the keys to all the sound stages and everything. And we'd go at 2 a.m, go into a lot of these places we weren't allowed to go. But he said one time he was sitting at his window typing, and he heard Diane Keaton outside the window. It was 20th Century Fox, and his office was across from the sound scoring stage. So she was over there looping or something. And he said it was most definitely Diane Keaton. And my friend was telling me, we were talking about her, and he said to this day he's kicking himself for not getting up and going outside and just saying hello and shaking her hand, meeting her. He had his chance there, but she was definitely outside the window. Better get back to some comments here. Let's see. I don't know if Anastasia, by the way, I don't know if Anastasia is doing a show tonight or not, because, she was down near Banning in the mountains with her friend. And, I feel okay in saying that. I always try to be very careful not to violate people's privacy, say too much, but she said it on her own shows. But anyway, she's back down there for a few days. I know she was leaving today. And I also know she worked this morning as a featured extra in a movie. So I'm anxious to hear about that too. And I'm sure when she does her next live stream, she will be talking all about that. I'm just happy to see some good things happening for her. So I don't know if she's going to be on tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific. Throw that out there. But it was this Danny. Anyway, on another more upbeat topic, yes, Diane and Robert were great actors. Absolutely, they were. They were. I'm even thinking about her performance in Reds, with Warren Beatty. Oh my God, she was incredible. I remember, I haven't seen the movie in a number of years, but her character was trying to find Warren Beatty in in Russia during the revolution, and those were the days where you had to get on a ship and cross the ocean. I can't remember. I think she had to go across the Pacific or how, but it was a long, tedious journey. And they show her on the boat and in the storms, and the boat's going all over the place, and she's nauseous, and she's fighting so hard to get there to be with him. And performance was beautiful. But even in light comedies like Baby Boom, I have a special memory of Baby Boom. I was going to London, and I was at the airport, and England was having its first hurricane in 400 years. So my flight was scrubbed, or it was postponed almost 18 hours. I didn't know it was going to be 18 hours, but I was told it was going to be postponed for a long time. So I thought, well, might as well leave the airport and stay close by, go see a movie. And it was a multiplex, and the only thing I saw that even came close to, I thought, well, Baby Boom, I'll check it out. I wasn't thrilled about it. I loved that movie. I loved it, but I loved her performance. And I loved that scene. She was this high-powered corporate woman, and she was softened by this adorable baby that had been thrust upon her as she was the only living heir. And she gave up her whole career to be a mother. But she couldn't help herself, because she was such a talented executive and such an innovator. By accident, making homemade baby food, she discovered that she could market it under the line of country baby. And before you knew it, she had her baby food grocery store shelves all over the country. And the company that had let her go now wanted to hire her back. They wanted her very badly because of her company. And she has this wonderful scene where she's deliberating, and you just see everything going on in her mind, and you see her legs shaking under the table. And then she concludes, well, I can continue to do this on my own, and I can have my life with my baby and be very happy. But it was a sweet movie. I mean, it was pointed out by critics that the plot was a bit absurd, but it was one of those things where if you have a really good actor like Diane Keaton, they help you to suspend belief. You believe the fantasy, you believe the implausibilities of the story. I guess I've spoken too much about Miss Keaton, but it seemed appropriate to bring her up. What was this? Coincidentally, the day before Robert Redford died, I digitized a VHS tape of his episode of Route 66 appeared on that I have. That's right. There are early appearances like that. I know Redford also did a very early episode of The Twilight Zone. Oh God, right below that, Ward saying, Dan, did you ever see Mr. Redford's Twilight Zone? And of course, Renee's bringing up, yes, it was Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucy. What was this? Sybil laughing and crying. It's the same release. That's a quote attributed to Joni Mitchell. Having experienced it, like with those two movies I mentioned, I'd have to say it is the same release. It is, but it's rare when somebody can make you do both at the same time. And when I say make you do both at the same time, very sincerely and in a heartfelt way. Well, so it's not for nothing that it's been said that comedy is tragedy with better timing. I 100% agree with that. And I've had this discussion with a lot of people who want to diminish comedy as somehow being lesser. No, Dee Wallace, my acting teacher, always said to us, you play comedy exactly like you would play drama. You play it with the same truth, the same integrity. You believe what you're doing. But she said the difference is comedy. See, we always had something where we had stakes. You had to determine what your stakes were in a scene. And she said, in comedy, You elevate the stakes, you make the stakes higher. And of course, you also incorporate the rhythm of timing. A comedy is actually a lot more difficult. It's a shame that it gets dismissed as much as it does. I know where I had this argument. It was an internet argument, Facebook, I think. It was when the great Viola Davis won a Best Actress Emmy for her show How to Get Away with Murder, and someone was pointing out the claim, well, this is the first time an African American actress has won for a lead role. And I said, oh, no, you're wrong. You're wrong on that. The great Isabel Sanford, some 30, 40 years earlier, won a Best Actress Emmy for comedy, for the Jeffersons. And this person goes, oh, that was for comedy. That doesn't count. I was like, excuse me. And I said to her, how dare you diminish the great work of Isabel Sanford? And I went to my whole spiel about how you treat comedy exactly as you do drama. Exactly. And in my opinion, Isabel Sanford's Emmy for comedy was every bit as worthy as Viola Davis's drama Emmy. But we went back and forth arguing that point in a civil way. In a civil way. It was very polite, but we did argue. In fact, I think it was Laurence Olivier who talked about that, how he actually got nervous when he was on the rare times he did comedy. He said, oh, this is much, much harder to do. Let's see. Oh, let me see. I got my comments just disappeared off the screen again, so let me find them again. Let me backtrack here, and please forgive me if I'm missing something important one of you is saying. I promise it's not a deliberate slight. What was this? Sydney, she definitely seemed to have had a great presence. I'm assuming you mean Diane Keaton there. And then Danny saying, especially watching his final 2 months of Jeopardy shows, missed something there, but obviously you're talking about Alex Trebek. And, Alex Trebek was really courageous because those final months of Jeopardy, he was going through, he had pancreatic cancer and he was going through grueling chemotherapy while doing the show. And in an interview, he pointed to his thick head of hair and he said, this is a wig. It was a very expensive custom made wig. And I mean, you watch the shows, you cannot tell. That's how good that wig was. It probably had the lace in the front with the hairline and everything. But anyway, he was bald from chemotherapy. He was often going off to have to vomit and so forth, but he pulled it together to do those shows. I mean, that's a brave man, and he was loved. Here, of course, we have the wonderful Hollywood Bowl, and they have shuttle services here where you can park your car in different locations of the city and take a shuttle bus to the bowl. And where I live is near Griffith Park, and that's where I usually park and take a shuttle bus. I wasn't, this wasn't one of my times, but a couple of friends of mine were on the shuttle bus, and Alex Trebek was on there with his 90-something-year-old mother. And just said he was the sweetest man. And he was so sweet with his mother, and she was very spry and funny. And it was nice to hear stories like that. And of course, they did a wonderful tribute thing. Every time you watch Jeopardy, they always, the soundstage where they do it at Culver City, Sony Studios. I've been there. I've been on that stage, actually. They have named it the Alex Trebek stage, and they always announce that at the beginning of the show. I think that's great, the way they keep his memory alive. And they honor him with every show by saying that. What was his choice? I looked her up. Blue Heart, Her Prayers, Angel. I'm assuming you were referring to Diane Keaton there. what was this, Danny? It's kind of weird. Well, of course, then again, Joyce, I could have been. I was also talking about Isabel Sanford and Viola Davis. And forgive me, I missed the comment before that. It's kind of a, Janie said, it's kind of a weird feeling when an actor takes his final bow in real life, or performer, and then does so again when her final TV film performance is released. They take their final bow twice. Well, when you've had great top of the mountain careers like Diane Keaton and Robert Redford, they deserve to take a second bow and leave the stage. And there's always that saying, a great entertainer always knows when to leave the stage, and by that, the entertainer leaves the stage, leaving the audience wanting more. And I think we definitely feel that way about Diane Keaton and Robert Redford. We wanted more. We wanted more. That was my first thought. Oh, no more Diane Keaton performances, because she was working right up to the end. Not always some of the greatest films, but she had things like, even in her 70s, like those book club movies, Jane Fonda, Mary Steenburgen, and Candice Bergen. She had those. And now, it was not that long ago, I saw on one of the streaming channels a marvelous movie that she did with Morgan Freeman, where they played an interracial couple that had been together for something like 40 years or more. And she and Morgan Freeman were just beautiful together. Very heartfelt. You really believed them as a married couple. I love the casting. But that was even said about Joan Rivers when she died, and I was even thinking that it's too soon, but she left us wanting more. Sydney, you forgot about her starring with Warren Beatty. Oh, she did more than just star with him. She had a big affair with him also. Who's the guy with the fez? That is Harold Lloyd. It's autographed. The silent screen comedian. Above him, Charlie Chaplin. To the side is Harry Langdon. To the top is Clara Bow. All silent screen stars on my wall. Oh yeah, Danny. That's right. His shows aired posthumously after he died for a couple of months. Yeah, but that's when he was really, really sick with chemo, and as I mentioned, he was wearing a wig. He was bald, but often going off to throw up. But he delivered. He was out there, and I guess he knew this was part of his legacy. And I'm sure Alex Trebek also knew, because everybody was aware of his circumstances. He had pancreatic cancer. I think he was trying to be an example for others having to go through a serious illness. Look at me. I can still pull myself together. I can still get out. I'm still viable. I'm still working. I'm sure that was part of it. War, yeah. Well, actually, Diane Keaton became a mother by adoption when she was in her 50s, not her 40s, in her 50s. And I think it was a son and her daughter. And I think both of them she raised from infancy. And they're both in their late 20s now. And I saw a lovely picture of them with their mother. And you could just see the love, how much they adored each other. And I'm sure Diane Keaton was a marvelous mother. I think it was the daughter, Dexter, who said, my mother told me, really embrace life, love your life, really go out there for it, and that sounds like Diane Keaton. Civil War, like the state of our country, it would be a comedy if it wasn't such a tragedy. I'll agree with you there. And if you watch my show I do alongside Whimsy Anderson, I don't mean to call it my show. It's our show, really more her show. But that's precisely what we talk about. And that's the appropriate venue for that. I try to avoid politics on here. And honestly, I got really shaken up last year, and I got one of the rare times I got some really mean, nasty comments. And it was because I did a portrait of Kamala Harris and I donated it to her campaign to raise funds and I did volunteer work. Well, I got some really mean comments. In fact, I have all my videos posted on my channel and I have a long video where I show all the stages of the creation of the portrait and I overlap that with clips from different speeches that she made. And some, people will watch those out of the blue and like a year or more later, and I'll get comments. Well, I had a nasty comment under that. Well, I just unsubscribed to your channel. Clearly, there's something seriously wrong with you. That's what they said. And those of you who've done your own YouTube channels like Pam and Joyce, you know what I'm talking about. In fact, you two were my moderators last year. And I think you were the ones who helped rescue me and delete some of those mean comments on there. But I still ended up seeing some. But anyway, I had the one. Clearly, there's something wrong with you. Well, as we know, any of us who do these shows, you don't take the bait. It's so tempting. And of course, they make it tempting. They'll purposely say something to you to rile you up to get you to respond. So then you go down a rabbit hole with them. And it's pointless. And it's best to just stay quiet and leave it alone. And that's what I chose to do. But I was like, my fingers were on the keyboards, like, got over it. Pulled back in. I learned my lesson. I think it was only when I first started doing these shows, like over 2 years ago, it was the wonderful Dr. Whimsy Anderson who got me into this in the first place. God bless that wonderful lady. And I was posting a lot of videos at the time on the channel, and somebody just wrote the meanest comment, like criticizing my physical appearance and my hair. And I mean, it was just like really just petty and mean. And I was new to this. And I will admit, I typed a response back and I was even more scathing. Something to the effect of, well, I just looked at your profile picture and I can see where your bitterness comes from. Anyway, never mind. Not going there. Momentary lapse of weakness. I'm a lot stronger now. I've been doing this for so long now, and all of you people have been wonderful. What was this? What we're saying to the Sybil? I wonder how long future generations will have their. Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Moment. I would love to see that show on Broadway right now. It's a very satirical look at Mary Todd Lincoln. And I don't know who's playing the role now, but it was originated by a man in drag as Mary Todd Lincoln, and he won the Best Actor Tony Award for it. And few I've talked to have seen it just said it is such it's a must go to play. Hopefully it'll come out here to Los Angeles. We often get a lot of Broadway shows out here. We either get them, they start here, and then they work their way across the country in tryouts till they get to Broadway, or it's a case of a show that's big on Broadway and then it starts touring and we get a production here. It wasn't, I think it was like 2-3 months ago, I just saw Some Like It Hot, the musical version, which was it was a semi-hit on Broadway. It should have played a lot longer, but it was just an excellent production. It was such a treat to go see. Oh, that's right, Sydney. I forgot Diane Keaton played Amelia Earhart. Oh, I never saw that, and I'd like to see that. I've seen the movie that Hilary Swank did, where she played Amelia Earhart, and she was quite effective. And also, a wonderful actress named Susan Clark played Amelia Earhart as well. But I've never seen Diane Keaton's version. I'll have to look, see if that's streaming anywhere, if it's on YouTube. But and of course, Amelia Earhart. Sasha, here, my destructive little kitty. She's knocking stuff over here. She's saying, "Put me down. Put me down." Okay. Okay. I'll put you down. Oh, what was I saying? Amelia Earhart. Yeah. They keep, going out there searching for her plane around where they theorize it went down. And I understand the most recent time it turned out to just be a rock formation underwater for how many hundreds of feet down. What, Sasha? She's getting her second wind right now. And now there's another expedition out there, and they're claiming they see what looks like could be her Electra plane under the water. I don't know. It's still one of the greatest mysteries of all time, and I wish they would just solve it. Give some peace to Miss Earhart. And that's right. And I told my Amelia Earhart story. It's not my story. It's a secondhand story. Sasha, you're gonna behave. She's here beside me. I told it where it was back in the 30s. I won't go into detail because I've told this before. But my 5th grade teacher, when she was a college student, she was in my little hometown in Virginia. She had her suitcase and she was going into the drugstore where they had the soda fountain to get a Coke. And there was this beautiful, beautiful convertible parked outside. It was almost, I don't want to say, I know it wasn't a Duesenberg, but it was something like that, something that a rich person would drive. Very untypical of my hometown. And there was a nice lady there at the counter and said, "Oh, you have your suitcase. Where are you going?" "Well, I'm walking to the bus stop." "Oh, really? Do you have to go far?" And said, "Well, I have to walk 4 miles." And she said, "Oh, come on, get in the car with me. I'll give you a ride." Well, that woman was Amelia Earhart. This was in the 30s, and my 5th grade teacher loved to tell that story. Let's see here. Where's some other comments? I should get off here soon. I don't think Anastasia is doing a show at 7, but I need to wind down because I have got to get back to all these boxes here. And Sasha is starting to get really rambunctious. Checking to see what she's getting into right now. Where's some of the comments here? Let's see. I think we're coming to the end of the comments here, so this might be a good time to sign out. What was this word? I would agree. However, the older I get, the more I realize how rare and precious a commodity common sense truly is in this world. Yes, it is. Titus Burgess is the actor who played Mary Todd Lincoln in Oh, Mary. Yeah. Sasha, what do you want? There we go. Okay. I think she's just a little peeved with me for giving too much attention to you guys, as one of you pointed out. She has that. I tell you right now, she feels like a coiled spring in my arms. Like, yep, she wants down. Okay. Okay. Jim, hi. Yeah, I'm glad you came here too before I checked out. Renee Ward, I also find the older I get, the world has lost its mind. Yeah. Let's all stay optimistic. Things are going to get better. Yeah. So I guess how long have I been on here? About a little over an hour and a half right now. I think it's a good time to sign off because I want to work on these boxes some tonight, and got a big day tomorrow because of the show with Whimsy. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually spend doing a lot of homework, combing through all the news services, listen to a few news podcasts. I try to get myself up to speed, um, just to be ready for whatever topics, current events we may be talking about. It's a responsibility. So that's my Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm hoping to go to my storage unit. And Thursday, I'll be back on Wednesday's show again. What was this? Sasha's playing a drum solo on the boxes. Yes, that's what she's doing. She's jumping around here. Any of you have cats understand. Right, Sasha? I think she's giving me the vibe. She doesn't want me to pick her up right now. So I'm going to leave her alone. And okay, good night, Chuck, Sasha, and gang. Oh, good night to you too. And you used to have a Siamese? You named him Sly. Oh, I love Siamese cats. I've had Siamese cats since I was 11 years old. In fact, I got my first Siamese kitten as a birthday gift. I was 11. And I've just loved the breed ever since. As maddening as they can be, they're very complex animals, but that's part of the fun of having a Siamese. They are never boring. Right, Sasha? You're never boring, are you? And yeah, anyway, I'm going to sign off and call it a night because I've got to get to work on all these things. But I just thank you tremendously for coming here. I always appreciate every one of you. And I appreciate all the people who don't watch me live, who come on later in the week and watch me. That's where a lot of my audience comes. And thank you. Thank you very much. And be back here next week. I'm trying to get back to my scheduled time of 5 o'clock. It just hasn't worked out the last few weeks. And also, as I mentioned, you can catch me on the Oracle Whimsy channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about a lot of current events and do a lot of readings on there. And Sybil, I got my first Siamese at 8, and he passed away when I was 19. Yeah, it's really hard when they pass away. We love them so much. What was it, Ward? I've got to clean up, then turn in. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for having us. I said, thanks for hanging us. Thanks for having us, Sir Chuck. Take care of everyone in all corners of our lucky globe. Oh, Jim, we appreciate you too, Chuck. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everybody. I never toot my own horn. At least I hope I don't. But Whimsy sent me a lovely thing. It was a posting she did about the two of us, and there was just such an outpouring of love. I got so many beautiful, beautiful, sweet comments here. I was almost wanting to read them out loud here, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be no. I'll just say a lot of nice, lovely things, a lot of hugs across the internet, and I just love doing this. So I'm going to say goodnight for now. Sasha says goodnight. I saw her run across here, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.